So we've had our planning team. They've got together. We've run through a planning process. We've got the document. We've made sure that it's got really robust success measures that immediately link back to our strategies, which immediately link back to our vision and value statement. They all sort of make sense. Now, the whole purpose of this morning is, so how do we make it work? So having got the right sort of guidelines in place, how do we actually make this work? And here's some really cool hints. Right? Number one, change the agenda of your board. And we mentioned this before in Terry's session, is one of the great tools that you can do is that if you have the agenda of your board so that it actually reflects the key strategic intents of the organisation, despite themselves, board members can't help but be more strategic. It sort of makes it a little bit easier because we're actually getting reports. And funnily enough, if you change the agenda of the board to reflect the key strategic intents, then maybe we should also ask the CEO to only report against those key strategic intents, so that if we have a CEO's report at all, it follows the key headings of the strategic plan. But if we're doing that, why do we need a CEO's report? Because we've got it in the agenda anyway. In the end, are you interested in how busy your chief executive is, or are you interested in whether we're achieving the things that we need to achieve? Sort of makes sense. Now, if that makes sense, then maybe we should look at changing our staff meeting agendas to actually have the headings of the strategic plan in that as well, and reporting against each of our operational responsibilities against those key strategies. Sort of makes sense. And if we're doing that, then maybe it sort of makes sense that we reflect our position descriptions, our performance indicators, so that they also align with that. What would it be like if every single person in your organisation was having an impact on the strategic direction of the organisation? And the only reason that they're not is that you have chosen not to set up the infrastructure that way. We had a good example of that was when I was heading up Institute of Banking and Finance. We went through our strategic planning process, came up with the 6 key strategies that were in there, and I then sat down with each of the leaders of my teams and said, okay, so what does this mean in your department? And we had a look at the various elements within there. I then thought, okay, look, I'll go around and chat with some staff. So I went around and chatted to the receptionist. And I said, okay, so how do you think you might have an impact on the strategic plan? What do you think you might do that we can actually take your position and your job and tweak it? Just do this to it a little bit, tweak it a little bit, so you've got a direct impact on the strategic plan. And she said, well, I was looking at this and I saw, increase our percentage of membership so that we have a higher profile in the industry. She said, well, what I could do, mostly what I do between 8:30 and 9:30 is take phone calls and messages of members who want to resign. I said, oh, that's interesting. What do you do with that? She said, oh, I resign them. Ah. So I said, well, what would it take for you actually to think about this differently, look at it differently, and actually see if we can't retain some of those members? What would that take? She said, oh, I'll need some training. Done. What else would you need? Well, I'd need access to the database. Done. Within 3 months, we had increased our retention rate by 50%. Direct impact on the strategic plan. Right? It's there. All you have to do is ask your staff. So what would it be like if all of your staff actually had a direct impact on these key strategies? It's just a matter of asking.